Hello and welcome to the Pandaverse. I'm Elgin, the E in C and E,
And I'm Christine, the C in the C and E.
and we're joined today by Laura Ellen Scott.
Howdy.
She's an author. She's got a new book coming out in a couple of weeks on the 11th. It's called Bluebilly.
Mm-hmm.
Since you don't have a copy of the book yet, obviously, I'll put up a cover shot so people know what it is, because it has this really eerie blue skull head.
Yeah,
Kind
this
of
is probably
subdued in the cover. It's pretty creepy.
the scariest one, isn't it?
And the book lives up to that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think there should be like an award for body count in book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd win.
This would this would rank up there.
Yeah.
I think Benny Sims' next book's going to give you a run for the money though, because he's got Benny Sims' new book's going to give you a run for the money. He's got 52 bodies.
Wow.
And during the course of the story, you're actually counting along with the serial killer. So
terrific.
you're keeping track of things, keeping score.
It's a weird competition.
Right.
I want to talk about the interesting names that you come up with for your characters. Because you got Crocus Row, Alma Bell, which is almost a normal name, and then Tara Row, which is almost a normal name. But in your past books, you had people like, what was her name? The 93-year-old woman.
Oh, yeah, Viola.
Viola.
Horup.
Yeah, Horup.
Horup, yeah, Horup, yeah. So
where the hell did that come from?
My family actually has records, going back to like the earliest, the Mayflower stuff, right? So we've got access to a lot of really old, strange names. Viola was the name of a woman I remembered in my hometown named Viola Twitchell. She was actually a journalist, and she was just around for a long time, but she had one of those really very remarkable names. I mean, I didn't use Twitchell, so that's good. Alma Alma's actually my great aunt's name, and I love that name. And I think I took Bell from Matt Bell, the author, right? So that I'm not very creative when it comes to names. I just steal what's around me, basically. That's why the psychic is named Zara.
That was great, by the way.
Yeah, that came as a surprise when she read the book.
I meant to go in and take that out before that happened, because the character is not that groovy, but she didn't appear to be angry about it, so that's good.
It's a murder mystery. I mean, you can't pick and choose whether you get the groovy character's name. I'm not even sure there's a groovy character in this book. I kind of like Crocus. That's a weird name, but Crocus is a parolee with anger issues, is the way you describe her.
Yeah. That's right.
And she and Tara are cousins, and they're my favorite characters in this book.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Their interactions on her are bizarre.
Well, it's a book about cousins, right? I mean, if I want to strip away all the body count and things like that, it really is a book about cousins. I think, with the series, at first I was taking on like this was not like something that I thought about doing when I first started writing, just happened to emerge naturally. But with the first book, with Mean Bone in Her Body, I was writing about, a mothers and daughters and awkward relationships there, estranged ones. And then I don't know if I had a similar theme or not in Crybaby Lane, but definitely in Bluebilly, I was really obsessed with cousin relationships, because you can really get up to some insane stuff with your cousins that you would not be able to do with regular friends, right?
Right.
And they know you in ways they know you, on a cellular level. Whether that's good or bad, they really know you.
Yeah, the weirdness is in the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yep.
Okay, your books are. This is the third book of the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure you're going to write a fourth book, but I mean, it doesn't say that it's a trilogy really, so there might be a fourth book. But the way that things conclude in this one, it kind of ties up a lot of the story arcs that had little dangling things left over from the previous books.
Right.
But what I like about your entire series is that you can read each book separately, and it makes sense. It doesn't require going back and reading the other books, but if you go back and read the other books, you get a lot of information that's kind of it builds and fortifies what the story is you're reading's about. Because I mean, if I hadn't read the other two books, this book would stand alone well. But
really happy to hear that. I have heard
yeah.
that from at least one other person as well. That it does stand on its own to a certain degree anyway. But I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah. Now the book's set in the fictitious, I think it's southeastern Ohio town, right?
Sorta, yeah. I mean, you slip all around.
It's definitely where they have hills and streams and lakes and things like that.
Yeah.
Unlike the parts of Ohio where I grew up and Christine. And Christine's got a big lake.
Yeah.
Down the street from her because she lives up by Lake Erie. But where I grew up, everything's flat, boring.
Oh, so you grew up around cornfields and stuff?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I grew up around all the cornfields.
In between. I took Christine to where I grew up, and there were lots of corn there.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of cornfields. I mean, we stopped on a back road
in the northeast corner of Ohio, basically. So, but spent a lot of time in southern Ohio and that sort of thing. So all of that stuff sort of came together in my
southeastern Ohio looks more like Kentucky or West Virginia than the rest of Ohio. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of strange people who live over in that part of the state too. So.
Well, you're talking about Zanesville, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Talk about Zanesville, okay? Just set it aside before we get in trouble.
We used to have my dad used to take us down to Kentucky, and we'd drive down US 23 to Ashland.
Oh yeah.
To go across, or it wasn't Ashland. It was actually another town, but there's a bridge there. And we used to have to drive through Chillicothe. And this is back in the 60s when the paper mill was still going there.
Oh no, it was still going through into the paper mill was still functioning at least through the 80s as well.
It was
Chillicothe. I should admit to.
I mean, how the hell do people live around that? I always wondered that when I was a kid because I mean it smelled bad.
It also smells that way up. It did in Maine as well, where Stephen King went to school in Orono and things like that. So that's just one of those industries that sort of once it takes hold, it stays there, and people get used to it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
like water up here. Smells
they had restaurants and things there. My dad wanted to stop and get something to eat there, and I said, "What?
No."
Let's get upwind of this.
Yep. Yeah, you either have where I grew up, it was the rubber companies, right? Oh, yeah. Akron and around that area there. And that was the odor of rubber production is just tremendous, So I think there are a lot of, at least in before the 21st century, we have a lot of smelly pockets of Ohio.
Yeah, it's kind of aired out now, didn't it?
Yeah, kind of aired out now. Yeah.
I mean, where I grew up, you had to get used to, cow crap and pig crap. I mean, you never get used to pig crap, but
we're 13 minutes in. We've got cow crap coming on here.
Cow crap. Yeah, we're having a deep intellectual discussion.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is all. I mean, this is the background. This is the foundational stuff behind the story in your book, because these people live out. They're not city slickers. They're country people. They're small town people.
Definitely. And even people who live in town. I mean, I also wanted to talk a little bit throughout the series about the interactions between, people who live close to universities and then sort of feel like they're part of a college town, and that gives them a kind of status lift in a sense. And then there are people who are out in the county, right? So a lot of this book doesn't spend very much time in the town part at all. I actually moved out into sort of the wilds of the county, if you will, to get to a place where there was a lot more, not degradation, but like disintegration, right? Or at any point you could turn around and a vine would grow up over your house or something like that. So a little bit more wild than the so-called civilized nature of university town.
I'm not sure how much status you get from being part of the university when the other major industry in the town's a prison.
Exactly. Well, that is my artificial sort of bring together, right? Because those were sort of the institutions that I was really familiar with when I was a kid. I lived close to the university, spent a lot of time there, but I also had lots of family members who spent time in other kinds of institutions, corrections institutions or mental health institutions. And so even as a little kid, and I'm not crying, oh, poor me, it was never like that. There was always somebody who wasn't going to be at the table at Thanksgiving because they were spending time elsewhere, right? And it wasn't a big deal. But those kinds of things really loomed large in my childhood, basically. So that when I say I've been to Chillicothe a lot, it would be to visit my father, who was there. Sure. So they had the medium security facility, which was for offenders that were 40 and older. And then across the street, they had the higher security facility, which was for offenders who were younger, right? And that's where a lot of the imagery from the prison stuff comes from in the books. We would have to drive down there from Brimfield, which was like a 4-hour drive, just to go spend the afternoon with Dad and then come back as well, pretty much on the same day. This was before you had any chance to do any kind of video chat with prisoners or anything like that. That's sort of revolutionized things in a very interesting way. And part of my research about corrections now actually showed me that Ohio was very much on the cutting edge of improving the correction systems and improving connections among families and inmates and that sort of thing. I'm not waving a flag for it or anything like that, but I was really surprised to see how far things had come since I was a kid, basically.
I remember when I was a kid, I grew up near a town called Selma, which is one of those, when you're driving through it, if you blink, you'll miss it places. They actually had a zip code, though.
Ah, good.
So, but growing up there was a guy that lived there in town that had been in prison. I remember I was fairly young when he got out of prison, and everybody in Selma said that he didn't do it. So I'm not really sure what got him in there, but he was in for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was a real nice guy. I talked to him a couple of times with my dad, but I was always wondering, what did he do to get into prison? And nobody talked about it. So it had to be something pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
So you've got all kinds of quirky people, which is a trademark for your book, and they get into all sorts of trouble. There's a thing in the book with a refrigerator, a submerged refrigerator, that just creeped me out.
I've been obsessed with that refrigerator part of the story for years. I'd say that's where this story came from, to be honest. So a friend of mine lived in Louisiana, and she would tell me, she'd call maybe once a year. It'd be like a 4-hour conversation. Call me, and she had this little cottage on the bayou and Bayou Teche, and she said that maybe 2-3 times a year a body floats by, right? For a variety of reasons. And then I got to thinking about the time that we spent in Louisiana and how all the all these backwaters and stuff would often have a appliances in them, right? People would dump their appliances, and then so that sort of just came together. And I thought, you know what? I got to put a guy in the fridge, and I got to make that kind of interesting, because that is very creepy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, that's very creepy.
There's well, down in Louisiana, the bodies could be floating just because,
For any reason.
The water got into the soil and loosened it up, and a body pops up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it could be anything.
All the time.
Could be somebody falling off a boat, anything.
Somebody got dropped in there to be gator bait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Somebody they wanted to just disappear.
Lots of reasons.
Reasons.
But she got to be where she was very she thought it was cute or something. I don't know exactly. It was a feature of her home life, right? She had this beautiful little cottage, and every once in a while.
Well, you have to find something to occupy yourself when you're in the country and you're sitting on the porch and you're rocking in your rocking chair. You see a body float by. Yeah, that's something you don't see every day.
Mm-hmm.
You just start naming them.
So that part of Blue Billy started out as a southern story, right? It was a short story at first, and then that story never did work the way I wanted it to, but I still was obsessed with the image, right? So for whatever reason, it occurred to me when I was starting to write this book, and I thought, okay, this is where this is going to come in. So I was happy I got to use it.
It's like a long river, or kind of like a backwater pond, and it's all stagnant water now because of all the pollution and the water, and the river's been diverted and all this other stuff, and everything that supported the camping and fishing and everything else, the infrastructure is rotted out, and it's around the banks of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to give away the story or anything, but this all ties together with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a really Ohio kind of experience too. Remember all those fishing lakes that the Corps of Engineers made by flooding, towns and locations and things like that, and that was fairly popular to have a cabin around one of those things, and then basic reclamation projects, things like that. So that was part of what I wanted to think about.
The interesting thing is when you put a dam in a river, it chokes off the ecological system that produces the fish in that river anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you see a lot of things, especially out west, where I am. You see a lot of things now where they're tearing down the dams to restore the ecology there.
Worked on the Boulder Dam.
Yeah. Well, they still got that because we still got a little bit of water comes out of the faucets.
Yeah, my mom was like a 2-year-old around that time, running around there, and that's where she got her obsession with dirt and rocks and things. So
it's a big dam.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge.
I think he was an electrician on the dam.
When you're walking along the sidewalks here, there's things on the grates. They're like embedded in the grates. The grates along the side of the road say something about this water goes directly to the water supply.
We have that too.
Yeah.
Yep. Ours says that it goes to Lake Erie.
Yep. Yeah, ours say Chesapeake Bay out there. So.
I mean, they're trying to preserve the water that gets dumped. What little rain we do get, the water washes down and ends up in the ecosystem that our drinking water comes from. So you don't want to throw stuff in there, like dead bodies and cat and dog carcasses, things like that.
You have to go there, didn't you? Next time I get a glass of water, that's exactly what I'm gonna be thinking about.
You can't take the country out of the boy,
Yeah. This water tastes like dead cat. No, I'm good. Elgon. So what are you working on next?
What am I working on next?
Yeah.
I'm almost finished with a new manuscript, which is much more in the vein of like a horror dystopia. It's the working title is The Obituary Project. And I don't know how much I can say without giving too much away, but it's an idea I'm working on a long time. But basically, people start noticing that people have stopped dying.
Oh wow!
And there's the main character is a little boy who grows up in this weird era where people have stopped dying, and he's always been obsessed with obituaries, but now people become quite obsessed with anybody who has ever lived and died.
That's really good.
So do they?
You have the best
ideas. They're all turning into vampires then?
No, not exactly that. Oh boy, how much can I say? It's more about a concept called cellular senescence. I'm not good with S's, so that's but they appear to have a tremendously slowed down metabolism.
Isn't that what happened? Isn't that like what they said happened to the people on Mars? Isn't that like the theory? That they did something very similar, and because they lived and didn't die, they destroyed their whole race with like different kinds of wars. And the theory is that they live inside the planet now, but they stopped aging at like 27 or something crazy because of something similar to that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Could you imagine?
I kind of think that we're their offspring.
That's right.
I think they escaped the planet. Well, I thought I was an alien baby because my sister told me that.
Oh yeah, I can see how that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So my husband Dean, he's giving at school on Wednesday, I think. Yeah, no, Tuesday. He's giving a TED Talk at school, which is very much sort of along those lines. It's about but it's mainly about how about AI and how that will help us make our next big leap to improve humankind, that sort of thing. But part of it is a little bit. Part of it talks about what they call the great filter, and that there are events that occur that shove a certain amount of people forward. And it sounds like your Martian theory here.
Wow, yeah. I'd love to see that TED Talk.
It'll probably be on YouTube, so I'll probably be promoting
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. And for everybody that's watching, this is what happens when three authors get together and start talking.
Yeah. Good times.
Oh, I didn't mention the ghost part of the book that I'm working on, but yeah, there's ghosts in it.
There's ghosts?
Of course there would be.
Yeah, that's the horror part of the horror dystopia thing. I just told you the dystopia thing. So
that's going to be a great book.
You should read my latest book. The main character carries around the ghosts of two past girlfriends inside of him to protect them while he's leaping through dimensions.
I can't keep up with all your books, Elgon.
Well,
you're a very gifted machine, but you are a machine.
If there's a weird idea out there, it'll eventually settle in my brain.
There you go.
It'll end up in a book.
It's a weird magnet.
Yeah, all this cosmic energy.
Yep.
Well, your book releases on the 11th.
Yeah.
And for all the viewers here who've watched us in the past and those who haven't, we usually release the books at least the weekend before the ebook goes live. So it'll be sometime around the 6th probably.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that all depends on when Alan gets done with putting it together and uploads the thing and everything. It could be sooner than that. So keep checking on Amazon, and as soon as you see the print version appear, you can order it, and you can have it before the ebook comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get it in about a day or two.
Yeah.
If you have Prime. This is a really good book, and if you buy this book, you'll want to go back and read the 2 previous books in the series, because you get infected with all these strange people that you get invested in their stories, and you want to see what's going on.
One hopes.
And then you've got another book out
Yep.
before that came out, which is about a cowboy investigating a mystery behind a jewel that
the Juliet,
that's
Yep.
with Pandemonium.
That's a real quirky story there.
Yeah, that was fun to write.
But I gotta say, Blue Billy, you outdid yourself. This is
Yeah, it's so good.
And
you mean, you're a talented author, Laura, but let me tell you, your books are great.
Thank you so much.
They're just also like, your ideas are just so unique and they're good. You have really good books.
Well, you'd asked about the series, Elgon, and I don't have any ideas for more New Royal books right now. I'll tell you that. So I did sort of want to make things go out, if this is how it goes out, with a bang, right? Not obliterating or burning the forest behind us, but making sure that it was a satisfying conclusion to the series.
Well, there's always more college students and professors and prisoners. So.
Yep. They go well together, surprisingly.
All right. Well, as soon as you have something else, we'll welcome you back.
Can I
discuss that?
Warren Zevon anthology?
Sure.
All right. So in June, after Blue Billy comes out, I will have a story in Lawyers, Guns, and Money, crime fiction inspired by Warren Zevon songs from Down and Out Books, and I get to write about Lawyers, Guns, and Money. So.
Oh wow!
Which is the song almost everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Even the people who don't follow Warren Zevon.
Exactly. Feel really lucky.
And Werewolves of London.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, we're excited.
That is a huge deal.
Warren Zevon music too is just something I really shared with my dad a lot too. He was really a big fan. Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner was his favorite.
Well, good luck with your book launch. Again, it's on May 11th.
Right.
And
we're actually having
not a little before.
We're having a book party at One More Page Books and More on the 25th. They're going to have an in-person event, which I'm really excited about. They've been really generous.
That's in the DC area.
It's actually near Falls Church, so not as bad. You don't have to go. It's going to take 45 minutes to get to DC, even though it's very close to us. It'll probably take 7 minutes to get to One More Page Books and More from us. So yeah.
So we'll just say it's in the DMV area.
There you go. That's good.
Everybody's like, Department of Motor Vehicles? No. if you live in the DC area, that's referred to as the DMV. DC, Virginia, Maryland. It's all like one conglomeration there.
That's correct.
It's a mess. It's a mess to drive through. I had the great misfortune of doing that once, and I actually decided to drive the next time up through the mountains and into Pennsylvania and cut across to avoid all the Eastern Corridor.
Yep. That makes sense.
It was great talking to you again.
Great talking to you guys. Thank you.
You'll have to come on sometime.
Thank you.
You'll have to come on sometime and talk to us when we've got other guests on.
I might try to. You sent me the invite to the to Dave Housley and the Grays book, right? I don't know if you meant to do that or not, but you sent me that invite, so
that's fine.
On that.
Yeah, that's a good story too. I don't know if you read it or not, but it's about a teenager, a girl that's an alien. She's in a high school in Indiana trying to find out what happened to the previous girl that had been sent there from her planet.
Cool. That sounds great. Well, Dave's one of my favorite writers, so.
It's weird. It's quirky, and it's funny. It's got some laughs in it.
I'm sure of it. All right then.